Hello Internet, Chino, aka That Pinguino here again with another deep look, and this time I'm going to be taking a look at Psychonauts once again, this time focusing on the level design in the game. So without any further ado, Raz is getting down, so why don't we? One of the cool things, the first thing to mention with Psychonauts, is every level in the game is a different mental realm, a different mind of a character you meet in the game. So every level kind of pulls double duty. It's not only just kind of the grounds for the moment-to-moment gameplay, but also, since every level is someone's mind, it also allows the developers of the game to use those levels as a form of character development. So you not only are playing in the level, but it's just by playing through the level, you're getting a sense of who the character is, whose mind you're in. So in this case, I'm in Mila Vodello's dance party. So she's one of the Psychonauts you meet, one of the 3 Psychonauts, and she's way into kind of 70s dance. She calls you darling all the time. She's a fairly groovy individual. And so, as a result, her dance party, she's a levitation expert, so her level's a crazy, high-bouncing, high-energy dance party, complete with 70s disco music and general decor. But since these levels are supposed to be the minds of the characters, of the character whose level you're in, it also contains some of the information and stuff that they would probably rather you didn't know. So in Mila's case, we see that over here in the corner, if you come down here, there's a secret little hidden room. It looks at a first glance like kind of those little star doors on the side of the walls, and the game kind of directs you towards that giant ladder, so this is actually off the beaten path. You probably might not see this. In here you actually find a memory vault. This memory vaults are little living vaults that contain the memories of the character whose mind you're in, and so they tell those memories in the form of kind of little hand-drawn flip books. So in this case you find this memory, Mila's children, which shows that Mila, before she was a Psychonaut, I assume, was a nurse at an orphanage. She fed kids, sang to them, but one day she came home and found the orphanage on fire, and she actually witnessed all of the kids she took care of die in that fire. So this little bit of character development is actually something that you would never know if you didn't come into this room. Mila never mentions it. She will never mention it even if you find this room. She'll never talk about it. She'll never say anything about it ever again after you leave this room. So just by creating this segment, the developers of Psychonauts further develop Mia and give her a little bit more backstory that you otherwise wouldn't have. And so we can also come into this little toy chest. And we can see that in that toy chest, Mila has sealed away all the nightmares and demons that she faced about those kids dying, all of her guilt, all of her self-doubt. She actually has locked away in that room, which kind of speaks, one, to the fact that she's still dealing with those demons. They're still there. Just because she's a Psychonaut now, she's kind of moved on, doesn't mean that that damage isn't still there, that doubt isn't still there. But by putting all of those kind of monsters behind that wall and keeping them under control, we can see that Mila has come to terms with her guilt, and now at least owns it. She's the master of it. In some other levels, like the Milkman Conspiracy, those nightmares, those creatures actually run free. So Mila being able to control them is actually a sign of strength rather than a sign of weakness. Having mental damage doesn't mean that you can't be in control of your own mind. So another cool level is this one, Coach Oleander's Basic Braining. It is the first level that you go into in the game. It's a tutorial for all of the basic platforming and controls and all that stuff. But since Coach Oleander, spoilers, is the main villain of the game, doubling back in here can actually give you a little bit of insight into what made Coach Oleander the central villain. Now, Psychonauts actually does a little work, sort of almost Castlevania-ish level design in this level. If you're not familiar with Castlevania, in those games you'll unlock new powers, new jumping, new forms and stuff that will let you traverse through levels that you couldn't have traversed before. So in the case of Psychonauts and in this level, halfway through the game, thereabouts, you'll gain access to this thing, the cobweb duster, this kind of bagpipe looking thing. And what it lets you do is remove those pink mental cobwebs. Now in the game they're supposed to represent kind of mental clutter in the mind, stuff that it's probably better to remove over time, just to mind get some clutter. Screwing up these jumps. But functionally, from a level design perspective, those cobwebs act as a wall to prevent you from accessing parts of the level that you aren't meant to see yet. So over here, this cobweb blocking that memory vault is basically impossible to remove until you might be able to grind out enough in-game currency to buy this cobweb duster before you know Coach Oleander's a bad guy, but it'd be pretty tough. Chances are you will only see this memory after you know Coach Oleander's the villain. So to understand why Oleander's shame is so interesting, we have to see the first memory you see. This is the very first memory vault memory you find in the game, Oleander's Pride. The coach actually tells you this is one of his favorite memories and he'd love for you to see it. So we see Coach Oleander raising a flag, leading the army, leading the Air Force, leading the Navy, healing children, and generally being the most hoorah military man you could imagine, complete with an amazing mustache and goatee combo, spiky hat, just super lanky, super tall and handsome. It's just everything you would want to be as a military guy, except that's all a fabrication. We can see in Oleander's shame that he actually was quite short, had a mustache that was far less glorious, has these terrible tan lines. He does not meet the height qualifications, so he gets kicked out of the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the chefs, and he leaves cursing the military and hating them for shaming him. And so we see that Coach Oleander puts on this facade that he'd like the world to see as a military man, as someone who's revered and respected, when in reality that he's anything but. And so only by doubling back and seeing this level again, this level that you really are never prompted to revisit, you can see just what made the central villain of the game the central villain. And now, most of the time in games, if they make you double back, or if there's any reward for doubling back, it's in a power-up or it's in some sort of upgrade or something. But here, since every level is a mental world, it's actually character development. It's more meaningful relationships with these characters that you're rewarded with. Now, I'll show off just one last element of Oleander's Basic Braining. It's actually a room that you have access to the first time through, so it won't actually be... The room I'm going to show is actually going to be locked, but still worth showing off, still worth talking about a little bit. So, every level, on top of just kind of the hidden rooms and stuff like that, the levels also kind of take on the personalities of the people whose mind you're in. So, for example, Gloria, insane characters you meet in the game. Her level, since she's kind of bipolar, her level takes on 2 different shapes depending on what mood she's in. The Milkman conspiracy, the character Boyd Cooper is obsessed with government conspiracies, so the level is full of government spies everywhere. Every single level just does so much work breaking down these characters that endless dialogue couldn't have done, and really giving you a sense of them. So over here is a locked door. Coach Oleander's plans for his psychic death tanks, his means of world domination, are in this vault. You can't go back into it after the first time you're through the level, but you actually happen upon it the first time you beat Oleander's basic braining. So even from the first moment, you kind of know he's going to be the villain, based on getting into a secret room full of repressed memories. I hope you enjoyed my little look at Psychonauts level design and some of the little secrets and hidden stuff you can find. Psychonauts, really detailed, really cool game. You should check it out if you haven't. It's like $2 on Steam every other week, or a humble bundle. You can play it pretty much out anywhere at this point. You should really check it out. I don't have a great sign-off for these videos yet, so I'm just going to keep doing terrible ones until one of them sticks, and then maybe we forget that it's terrible. So, thank you for spending some time checking out this game and this video via Cone Video Games.